should he have said that?
First of all, feeling kind of fresh on the set. Can we comment on that real quick?
You want me to tell you what I told you? You want me to say what I told you?
What is
Out
that?
here looking like a hitman. Look like you just offed somebody before you came in here.
Maybe.
Like a Secret Service for Wakanda.
Boom, there you go. But to get back to the topic at hand, I'll say this. As a person that works in the media, he was refreshingly honest. That's something that we always talk about, like athletes. We want athletes to be honest, to tell us what's really on their mind, not the cliche things that we constantly hear from athletes. Now, as a former player, you just look like, come on, Johnny. What are you doing? Like, really, what are you doing right now? Because one thing as a former player, you always want to minimize the damage, minimize risk. That's what you want to do. And especially in Johnny Manziel's case, where he's trying to work himself back into the league. And the problem I have with the statement that he made, the first thing he did was point the finger at the Cleveland Browns instead of pointing the thumb at himself first. So I appreciate the honesty in what Johnny Manziel was saying because, listen, Cleveland, over the past couple years, they're 1-31. So they're doing a lot of things wrong. But if you're trying to endear yourself to get back into the league, the first thing you should always do is point the thumbs at yourself and explain what you did wrong. And if you wanted to bring some context into this as far as the Cleveland Browns are concerned, I don't have a problem with that.
But I feel like he's been pointing the thumb, as you say, at himself for a long time. While he didn't do it at the beginning of that quote, like he's been talking about the mistakes that he made. And even in that quote, he was saying that he wasn't ready. So I think this shows self-awareness. That makes me happy. That's something that a lot of professional athletes don't have, or a lot of people, frankly, don't have self-awareness. He has self-awareness, and I don't understand why we get so up in arms when players who are in these situations, who know the most about the situations, tell us things that we already know about those situations. Just the fact that it came out of Johnny Manziel's mouth doesn't make it any worse than it was before. He's a self-aware guy who has been taking responsibility this whole time. He came out and had an interview where he's talking about his issues with substances. What more do you want from this man as far as taking responsibility for his problems in his failed career so far?
Here's what people are reading. By the way, I don't really have any problem with what Johnny said. In fact, I think it's an asset. I think it should be, as you both have said now, applauded. If I'm a team looking to sign Johnny Manziel, this increases my chances, does not decrease my chances of signing Johnny Manziel. But you know what's happening. You know what's happening. People are reading this. They're clipping parts of it. And what it sounds like and what people are reading into it is he's passing the buck. The fault for what happened with Johnny Manziel, it sounds like, and people are reading into it, that it's the Cleveland Browns' fault. But if you read it in full context, that's not what he's doing. He's self-aware, Dominique. You're absolutely right. He's taking the blame himself, Damien. And the truth of the matter is, even when he says something that indicts the Cleveland Browns, even when he says, if they'd done their homework, they'd know, he's saying something negative about himself. He's saying, if they knew anything, if they did a little bit of homework, they had known I was a bad bet. I didn't study. I didn't do X's and O's. He wasn't throwing the Browns under the bus. He was throwing himself under the bus. He might have drugged them with him a little bit.
Right.
And people are pointing that out.
And they deserve it.
And they might deserve it, Dominique.
The
they
Browns,
might deserve it.
They have some culpability in the way his career went. Like, we like to pick one person and say it's all this person's fault, or the reason why our team was successful was because this person was great. But no, everyone has a place in the success or failure of the team, from the top of the organization, Jimmy Haslam, all the way down. So I think that he deserves part of the response, or the Browns deserve part of the responsibility.